When does cryptocurrency go from being a scam to a path to unequaled presidential riches? When you are Donald Trump. In 2021, Trump dismissed Bitcoin, then the leading cryptocurrency, as a, quote, scam against the dollar and a, quote, disaster waiting to happen. He changed tune in the 2024 campaign, vowing to raise what he called a crypto army to boost digital assets. Upon returning to the White House, Trump changed regulations to favor cryptocurrency. He and his family have benefited handsomely in the process. How handsomely? $1.4 billion in gains from, as the New York Times put it today, quote, businesses that directly benefited from his actions as president, unquote. But that is not all. In the first year of his second term, Trump raked in at least $2.2 billion in revenue. This compared to the $622 million his enterprises earned the year before he returned to the presidency. We know all these numbers from just released disclosure forms. It would be good to know how much in taxes Trump paid on this extravagant cash haul, but the president does not release those. And due to a recent settlement he made with his own agencies over the improper release of older tax forms, there can be no audits of Trump tax issues. Not for him, not for his family, not for his businesses. Riches, all tied up in a tidy, protective bundle of power. We will delve into the details of all this a bit later in the show, but one note about Trump's crypto investments and his own branded digital token known as the Trump meme coin. There's a dollar sign before the Trump. You can see it there. A recent investigation by Reuters found that while Trump and his family made more than $2 billion on crypto, there were, quote, more than 1 million investors whose net losses totaled $2.3 billion at the end of April of this year. Reuters went on to report those who lost money included retail buyers of crypto and crypto-linked equities, as well as those who invested indirectly through funds like ETFs with exposure to Trump crypto. The loss total includes paper losses on unsold investments. Those are important details. While Trump and his family were making money, scores upon scores of American investors, believing Trump tokens or funds linked with them were sure to deliver big returns, instead lost money. Investing, as we know, is risky business. But Trump's gains appear as close to risk-free as possible. It therefore appears to pay, and pay handsomely, to sit atop the regulatory and branding pyramid. We begin tonight with senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Weijia is with me here at the family table. Great to have you here. So this is a lot. We have never in the history of the American presidency seen revenue of this kind linked directly to things actively going on and under the aegis of the federal regulatory apparatus the president sits atop.
And that is why Democrats have said this is not a coincidence. When you look at Trump administration policies as it relates to crypto, they argue that Trump has appointed crypto-friendly regulators, that he has deregulated things for the industry to make it easier, and that he has canceled out investigations into crypto firms. So Elizabeth Warren, for one, has been extremely outspoken about this, saying that, look, American people, the president is benefiting from these decisions in, to your point, Major, an unprecedented way. We're talking about $1.2 billion in reported income from cryptocurrency alone for President Trump. And it's really important that you just pointed out that the value of those meme coins and the value of those other assets that investors bought went down, while that didn't impact him, because he said today, as he was defending this, the reason why I made so much money is because the stock market and everybody made so much money along with me. And that is simply not true, especially as it relates to crypto. But the White House insists that there is no conflict of interest, and it is not illegal for the president to invest in private companies. But the reason why Democrats continue to point this out is, the fact that he has taken actions that seem to directly benefit his investments.
And Weijia, you well remember during the Biden presidency, which you covered, there was tremendous Republican curiosity that morphed into outrage about Hunter Biden and money made in relationships to foreign governments that they thought was somehow influenced by the president. Now, that was a double or triple bank shot if it was real, and the Republicans certainly came to believe that it was. This is not a double or triple bank shot. This is right in-house.
It is there in a, nearly 1,000-page report spelled out for the public to see. And this is just another example of Republicans suddenly becoming way less vocal about the same issue. But there are some Republicans, I think, that are also, questioning this eye-popping figure. When you're talking about billions of dollars, Major, that is a different ballgame than we've seen from any other president.
And very quickly, there was a new ride for the president today aboard a newly redesigned, or not redesigned, but the interior and the security components within it redone because it was a gifted jet from the Qatari government, and the president flew on it for the first time.
Yes, speaking of potential foreign conflicts from gifts, this is the biggest gift that America has accepted from a foreign government. And it was the maiden voyage today. The president took it to North Dakota for the opening of the Roosevelt Presidential Library. And he claims that this is just a temporary fix because the old planes were outdated. They didn't have the proper technology or security features that it should have. And Boeing, which was commissioned to provide a new Air Force One, is late. And so we expect that plane to come in sometime in mid-2028. So the president says this is just a temporary plane that we're going to use.
But he did use the word gift today, talking to reporters. And it's very clear that this plane, once it goes out of service, will go to the Trump Presidential Library.
Well, he says it's going to. And if you look at the renderings from the library, you see that there is a huge plane
Sounds
right
like a
in
gift to me.
The middle. Well, here's another gift quickly, since you and I have both taken international voyages on the old Air Force One.
Yes, we did.
For hours
many
hours and hours.
Yes.
There wasn't a single bed on the plane except for the president,
Right.
which means we,
sat up.
And
recline a little bit, but not
yes.
much.
And
very little legroom.
I get that's our job. We shouldn't be complaining.
Nope, never complain.
The reporters who traveled with the president today describe what is nothing less than dripping in luxury.
Yes, sumptuous and lay-down seats.
There's a massage function for the press seats, I'm just saying.
There's a massage function for the press seats. That says it all. Weijia Jiang, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Major.
Andrea Fuller has been following all of this, what we've been talking about for the New York Times, and joins me now. Andrea, you heard the president say to reporters before he got on that gifted Qatari plane that is now the new Air Force One that I don't know what's going on. They're in closed accounts. You put their money in, and I don't talk to them. As if this is all in some sort of blind trust. That's not what we're talking about, is it?
That's correct. His investments, his traditional stocks, are in fact managed by a broker, but a lot of people, including a lot of Democrats, expected President Trump, when he took office, to put all of his financial assets, including his business assets, in a blind trust. And that's not how it works. He still has a lot of influence over those, as do his sons, and they're ultimately controlled by him.
And we go back to that video at Andrews Air Force Base this morning, control room, because the president, while he's telling reporters, I don't know what's going on with this, I have no visibility into this, his two sons, Eric and Don Jr., are right over his shoulder in full camera view. They know everything. And as we know, this is a close-knit family, and it would be reasonable to assume, discuss these matters.
I mean, I certainly can't speak to that, but what I can say is that President Trump and his sons and his wife, in fact, have all become involved in the cryptocurrency business over the last 2 years since the 2024 campaign. As you said before, there's been a real pivot in how he talks about crypto, and his sons are involved in cryptocurrency ventures. Melania had her own meme coin. So cryptocurrency has really become intertwined with the Trump family.
And Andrea, there are other ways in which this president and his various enterprises make money separate from crypto, are there not?
Absolutely. President Trump was always known as a real estate mogul. He's still got his real estate assets, his golf clubs, Mar-a-Lago. Those actually made more money than they did last in 2024 before he resumed off. Sorry, they made more money last year in 2025 after he resumed office than they did in 2024. Mar-a-Lago's revenue went up. So did some of his golf clubs. He's also involved in a lot of real estate assets overseas. In his first term, he said, no new businesses overseas, but this term, that isn't the case. We've got Vietnam, we've got new properties in the Middle East. So the Trump business has been growing.
And from these disclosure forms, Andrea, do we learn everything or do we learn some things about money raised or money earned rather, and the mechanisms by which it happened? Does this give us full view into this or only partial view?
Only a partial view. We don't know the valuations. These forms, unfortunately, don't give us President Trump's net worth. They tell us about his revenues, but a lot of the valuations are reported in incredibly broad ranges. They say, over 50 million, and that's a lot of numbers. So we don't really know his net worth from these forms. We only know last year what he took in as revenue.
Andrea Fuller of the New York Times, I appreciate your time very much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.